And this morning, to discuss hurricane season with me, I have Barry Goldsmith, who's with the National Weather Service right here in Brownsville. Thank you so much, Barry, for being here with us this morning.
Thanks, Victoria, for having us again.
So we here at Action Forward, the weather team, have really been working hard to get ourselves prepared and our viewers prepared as well. We have a big hurricane special that's going to be coming up this Friday evening, but we want to hear from the Weather Service as well, because you are the official government entity that can release any sort of warnings. And you get a lot of this from the Hurricane Center. So can you tell our viewers about how that works?
Well, the Hurricane Center are the experts that make the forecast. They digest hurricane information from a number of computer models and then use their knowledge and their expertise to come up with the best forecast. And year after year, no matter how many models are run, it's the Hurricane Center forecast that beats them all. So these folks live, breathe, eat hurricanes, 6 months out of the year, and the other 6 months they're doing research on it to get better.
And the Hurricane Center actually issued this particular forecast. This comes from NOAA, the official 2013 forecast. Discuss this with our viewers and tell us why it's important that they don't necessarily focus on just the 13 or the 20, that they kind of understand why you guys give such a broad range.
Well, there's two things to look at. We're looking at above average season. The average is around 12 for named storms. So 13 alone at the low end is above, and 20 would be the high end of being above based on what we're seeing now. The one key to the forecast for any location on the Atlantic coast, the Caribbean, and the Gulf is the more named storms you have, the better your odds would be. But remember, the odds are only based on individual weather patterns through the season. And as we've seen in 2010, 11, and 12, there's been no direct landfalls on the Texas coast, largely because of the way the weather patterns worked out, even though we had 19 named storms in each season.
Absolutely, and that's actually above average as well. The biggest season was 2005, most memorable. That brought with it 3 storms that actually reached Category 5 strength. So tell our viewers, is Texas due for a storm? How do you figure out the probability for that? Because there are different probabilities for different areas along the Gulf Coast, correct?
Yes, overall the probability for a landfalling hurricane or hurricane force winds is about 6.5% for this year, which is higher than the 3.5% that we see in the long term. So the probabilities of a direct landfall hit in Cameron County, which will cover the valley after that, is pretty low. And again, looking at the odds on this year, you'd think the odds are going to be higher, and in a way they are, but the individual weather patterns that set up, or the puzzle pieces, will determine where they go. And there's a lean right now that suggests that they're not going to come here similar to the last 3 years. However, it only takes one storm to break through that crack in the door, if everything sets up in that puzzle just right, for it to come to the valley. So like 1992 with Hurricane Andrew, only a few storms that year, most of them went into the Atlantic, but Andrew hit Miami, South Florida, $50 billion of damage in 2012 value, and they'll never forget that season, despite the fact that it was quiet for the rest of the country.
Of course, because as we tell our viewers, weather is a 3D picture. Even though you don't see what's going on overhead, there's so many different factors that are going on that really help to influence our weather patterns. Thank you so much, Barry, for being here. And you want to stick around for next hour, because we're actually going to be talking about storm surge and how that relates to us and why it's important, especially for folks in Cameron County. Barry?